And a very good evening to you. I'm Sophie Alsop, Cambridge, with this Sunday, August 12th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Minister of Tourism and International Transport Kerry Simmons says substantial work is needed to make the Bridgetown port more competitive. He says the facility is facing capacity constraints which must be addressed.
We have sold ourselves to the world as being a home porting destination. But as a home porting destination, it means that we must have the capacity in the Bridgetown port and also at the Grantley Adams International Airport to carry the throughput of the number of passengers that we are expecting to arrive within on any given day if you're going to be doing a home porting experience.
Mr. Simmons says the country needs new attractions and is confident the island can reach marquee destination status come 2020 or 2021.
I do not think it is beyond this country to compete against St. Thomas. I do not think it is beyond this country to compete against St. Martin. I do not think it is beyond Barbados to compete against St. Kitts. With the greatest possible respect to colleagues in CARICOM, I do not think it is beyond Barbados to compete against St. Lucia. But the fact of the matter is that we are spinning top in mud and taking far too much for granted, while the rest of the world is lining itself up to eat a large piece of our lunch at a time when we can least afford it.
Former Prime Minister and outgoing President of the Democratic Labour Party, Frondell Stewart, has urged the group to shake off the recent general election defeat and rebuild. Delivering his last address as president of the 63rd Annual Conference, he reminded supporters this current period will prove to be a loyalty test. He added all have a role to play to ensure the party returns stronger, and some will have to pull up their socks.
Members of the General Council have groaned in lament over the last 10 years that their elected and their selected representatives treated with contemptuous disdain attendance at meetings of this important council. The defaulters have no excuse now. They have all the time they need to placate the loyal members of the party, who are the ones who hurt most when things go wrong.
And the former Prime Minister Stewart also warned the party to be wary of those who seek to enter the party simply for personal gain.
I feel it my duty, therefore, to warn that for some time now, there has been a species of predator stalking the party political environment in Barbados in search of career advantages to exploit. This kind of predator's loyalty is usually very occasional and depends on what the rungs of the career ladder look like.
In other news, the Barbados Defence Force has pledged its full support to the government of Barbados. BDF Chief of Staff Colonel Glenn Granham made the commitment as the force celebrates its 39th anniversary. Sharika Griffith has more.
Addressing a packed congregation at the St. Matthias Anglican Church, Colonel Granham vowed that the BDF will continue to work with its local, regional and international allies to ensure the safety and security of not only Barbados, but its regional neighbours as well.
We shall stand together and remain committed to fulfilling our mission to defend and secure Barbados' interests, including that of public safety. We shall be a united force, working towards one vision on a journey to help build the best Barbados we can together. We shall continue to do our best because every member of the force, the team and the country as a whole is counting on us.
In front of a congregation which included Governor General Dame Sandra Mason, Attorney General Dale Marshall, and Minister of Health and Wellness Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostick, Colonel Granum said the annual church service adds to the overall quality of life of the BDF.
Services such as this, the ones held for the anniversaries of the Barbados Cadet Corps, the Barbados Regiment, the Barbados Coast Guard, and indeed the weekly services held at the 3 bases, are a part of our collective spirituality, a public demonstration of acts of holding God's hands at all times. It is not only important for us in the military to wear man-made armor, but to put on the armor of God as well.
During his sermon, pastor of the Bank Hall Nazarene Church, Reverend Anderson Kelman, commended the BDF for showing the way through its partnerships with schools, sports programs, and counseling services.
I want to challenge you. As we celebrate 39 years, this is a good time for reflection, a good time to see maybe what more can be done. As our people continue to struggle, what more can we do to ensure that our society is strong and we create the best Barbados? For the youth of today will be the adults of tomorrow.
The service was several musical selections, including this one by a member of the Barbados Cadet Corps Band, which had several members of the congregation on their feet. Sharika Griffith, Cbc News.
Well, the region's brightest young minds in science, technology, engineering and maths are in good hands. It's partly thanks to the Caribbean Science Foundation and its Student Program for Innovation and Science Engineering, or SPICE. The initiative, which brings together top regional performers between the ages of 16 and 17 in the STEM subjects, came to an end recently. The co-executive director of the Caribbean Science Foundation, Dr. Dina Saw, says the students took a number of university courses in STEM fields and explained one of their projects, the renewable energy windmill.
They have teams of about 4 or 5 students per team, and the goal is to make windmills, blades from scratch, with the design to maximize the translation of wind into electrical energy or power.
And the Assistant Director of the Program Management at CSF, Daniela De Silva, says SPICE programming is not the only way that the region's talent is being fostered.
We also have another program, which is our Barbados Junior Robotics Camp, which actually recently culminated yesterday. And within that program, we educate students between the ages of 10 and 18 over 3 levels in building their own robots, programming these robots, and making these robots work autonomously.
We also heard from a participant in the SPICE program. He's Amir Ince, who says it'll go a long way in helping him to achieve his goals.
I'm currently looking at a career in programming or either mechanical engineering, and the SPICE program through the robotics has really taught me how to apply myself on the theorem which I was taught in physics, especially the Archimedes principle, as you've seen, in making the robot float, dive, and I really enjoy that.
Sad news now, a Nobel Prize-winning author V.S. Naipaul has died at the age of 85. He was one of the first winners of the leading British literary award, the Booker Prize. The popular but controversial writer penned more than 30 fictional and non-fictional texts focusing on themes of migration, displacement and rootlessness.
Vidyadhar Surat Prasad Naipaul was born into an Indian family in Trinidad in the West Indies in 1932. He was the son of a civil servant and won a scholarship to study English literature at Oxford University. Naipaul's early work focused on the Caribbean. He traveled the world and chronicled the histories of people whose stories had not been written. He also focused on the themes of migration, displacement, exile, and rootlessness.
I think we should remember him for what he did with writing, what an exceptional writer he was. In my opinion, the greatest writer of English prose of the second half of the 20th century.
One of the things that happen to people who get the Nobel Prize is that they also get a lot of media attention.
Naipaul received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2001. The Swedish Academy praised him as a philosopher who chronicled the stories of the vanquished.
I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to do a series of books. I wanted to have my name on lots of books on the shelf.
Fans flocked to read his self-reflexive books and enjoy his unique voice, which used the tools and the art of short stories to compose books that address themes like the human condition, the trauma of colonialism, and the struggles of people in the developing world.
Naipaul, like any other human being or a writer, had his drawbacks and problems, but that does not mean that his writings can be rejected completely.
Although his writing was widely praised for its compassion, his critics called him offensive, bigoted, and misogynistic. He was accused of being racist when portraying African societies and for attacking Islam. Most critics agree that Naipaul wasn't afraid to be offensive or eccentric, and that he dared to write about his most unpleasant thoughts and present them to the public with honesty and a unique gift for storytelling. He died at his home in London, age 85.
And Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has extended condolences to the family of Nobel laureate Sir Vivian Naipaul following his death in London yesterday at the age of 85. Dr. Rowley says the proud son of Trinidad and Tobago established himself as an icon in the literary arts on the global stage, and his world-renowned achievements caused his birthplace to shine in a positive way.